Dempsey Weiss & Associates is a multi-line insurance agency successfully meeting the insurance and financial needs of the landscaping, business contractor, and agricultural community in southern New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania since 1989. To learn more, visit us at www.dempseyweiss.com.
Hey there, and welcome to the Business of Business podcast. Here we are two daughters and their dad, seeking to inspire and educate you to follow your dreams of being in business by teaching you the business of being in business. The good, the bad, the humor are all parts of our unique perspective as an entrepreneurial family. Thanks for joining us. So grab a coffee, turn up the volume. Here we go. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I am your host, Staci J. Dempsey. The J is very important because what brings all the joy. And per usual, like always, thankfully, I have the other daughter and the one and only dad, Jennifer and Jack. Great morning to the both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
So we have a really interesting topic today, and it actually almost sounds a little bit like the same, but totally different. Today, we want to talk to our listeners about taking the time to work on your business versus when you're working in your business. Is it the same? Thankfully, we have the two best experts on deciphering if we're working on our business or in our business, the daughter and the one and only dad, to tell us a little bit about what the difference is and why it is important for us to do both. Jennifer, why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about how you work on your business versus when you're working in your business?
So let's talk about new business owners. We tend to work in our business all the hours, and then we're working on our business after hours. It takes basically all of your time and all of your energy. And I think through growing your business early on, you can get lost in the different roles that you have to play, right? So, early on, you have to wear many different hats to make your business work day in and day out. So as your business grows, taking the time to schedule when you're actually working inside of your business, working your craft, and then working on your business. I know it was a huge adjustment for me, and I'm still working hard on making that balance work in my business. And it's funny that we're talking about this. I just heard a quote from Gina Bianca the other day that said, however many hours you work, so let's say you work 40 hours, 20% of that each and every week should go to working on your business. So carving out the time in your schedule, 20% of that time should be tunnel vision working on your business, which I think is a great percentage to start because it can be hard. It can be hard to pull yourself away from what you're actually doing day in and day out inside your business, especially, in the service industry like I'm in. There can be a lot of fears behind that. Great way to start is taking the amount of hours you work, 20% of those hours, and carving out that time, whether it's a couple hours a day or it's a full day, that you can just, spend time on your business instead of actually producing inside of your business.
Is Gina Bianco someone famous?
To me, she is.
Why, what does she do?
She is an expert in the beauty industry.
Okay. Sounds like a name for that. That's for sure. Gina Bianco should be in the beauty business. That's for sure.
I'm hoping my name sounds like that soon. I hope you say that about me soon.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Your brand's getting there quickly. Let me ask you a question on that. If you were a 40-hour work week, does that mean then you take 8 hours, to work on your business, 32 to work in? Is that what we're saying? Or do we take 40 hours and then we add another 8 for 48 hours?
Well, probably the first 5 years you're going to do that. So yeah. I can attest to working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. inside my business, and then working, 10 p.m. to midnight on my business. So if you're in that place, in your life right now, in your business, I'm right there with you. I understand how overwhelming that can be. But when you start to shift to taking more control over your business, to say, listen, I'm going to commit 40 hours. Within those 40 hours, I'm going to take 8 to work on my business so I can truly be present with my family the time I have carved out for them. And that's what all entrepreneurs talk about, right? Is freedom of time. That's the biggest thing that we all want. Early on in your business, you will not have freedom of time. But to be able to recognize when you can start incorporating that into your life, to say, you know what, I've did the dirty work. I've worked so many hours. I'm going to start carving out this time so I can truly be present in the other areas of my life when I have that time too.
And just for, for our listeners, if you have not listened to our episode with Enoch Stevenson, he specifically talks about that he has some goals that are 1 year, 2 year, 3 years out. And those goals for his business mean that he's probably not going to be spending very much time with his family. He's not going to be spending much time doing, extra leisurely types of things, but he knows that having that laser focus for the next 1 to 3 years is going to be very fruitful for his family, so that, he will be able to spend more time doing the things that he wants to do for his family. So if our listeners haven't listened to that specific episode, that's a great episode that really highlights somebody that is getting ready to, or is really kind of in that muck, right? Of, I'm going to have this laser focus, and it's going to kind of leave me not a lot of time to do the things that I ultimately really want to do.
We might want to put a little caution around that, in that, you might want to make sure that you maybe start out a little smaller there, with the goal of getting up to 20%. So let me ask that, Jen. I mean, what's some things that you should be looking at when working on your business? Because obviously when we say working in our business, that means you're doing hair, I'm doing, insurance or investment. I'm working with clients. I'm actually engaged in kind of what drives revenue at the end of the day in most regards. Right. So
working in your business is how you actually make your business money, right?
Right. So what are some things then, when now we've carved out whatever amount of time in our week to work on our business, what's some categories we should be thinking about?
Here's my to-do list.
Right.
Like we said, when you're early on, the first few years in your business, you're doing these things off hours. So how can we be more productive during the day when you're actually, these are my working hours? For me right now, I'm revamping my website. It's 5 years old. Working with my website guy on, all new pictures, all new design, obviously outdated. So, working on things like that, making sure that your business is current, making sure, Google and your social media presence and website and online booking and whatever you have out there on the internet, that needs attention. That doesn't need, attention every week, but it's something that needs your attention, every quarter, once a year, making sure that your hours are correct out there in the internet world, all of those things, making sure that you're current. For me, we're getting ready to launch our 6th annual book bag fundraiser. Again, something I would work at night, 10 o'clock to midnight. I would be working on those things. Now I'm building it into my schedule. I'm bringing on some new talent inside my business. First time positions that I've ever had in my position. So writing out, what does that look like? What do these people need to be doing? Again, something I would be doing early in the morning or late night, I'm now building into my schedule. So I have a whole list of things. I just had my first focus day this past Tuesday, and I got so much accomplished, but I also realized how much more I need to do to really feel like I'm in control of what's happening. So I agree with you, Dad. I think that sometimes 8 hours can be overwhelming depending on your business. Sometimes you can just carve out 2 hours during your day. That doesn't work for me in my business. But again, depending on your business, maybe you just take 2 hours in the morning to work on these kinds of things. I also have on my list, I need to call Comcast because my bill is crazy. So just things like that, how long does it take to get somebody on the phone with Comcast, right? Who else is going to bring, I'm not paying $300 anymore, so we're going to have to work this out. Who else is going to do that but the owner of the business, right? Those are some of the things that we're working on our business hours throughout the week.
You know what I'm working on from 10 p.m. to midnight?
Back of those eyelids.
That's right. I'm probably about on my third dream by then, you know. So
well, and you know what? It's funny that it's like when you first start your business, it's almost like you're up super late, right? It's like, and then 5 years later, you're a little bit older, your lifestyle changes. And now it's like, me and Staci were talking about this. I want to wake up earlier. And it's like, you're starting to train your body of like, I want to wake up earlier and go to bed earlier. So I'm just 5 years difference. I thought I worked better at night, but now I am working at 5 a.m. So.
Well, that's my point. I'm not, the reason I'm going to bed then is because I'm working at 4:30 a. That's my time. I'm up, and that's when I get a lot done, both physically, with exercise and all those things. But let's go back to that because you talked about marketing, because this is such an important topic for people because I see it all the time. We get busy and I see it in our business. You get out there and you're just running, you're trying to build your business, add clients, and you're just running, and you just never step back and take that time. So there's the marketing piece. You talked about that. You just hit on the financial piece. Like, again, you're talking about, now all of a sudden you're kind of looking at your budget saying, wow, a couple bills here have gotten kind of high. I need to address these.
Right.
So, so there's that financial aspect of things, but what about, what about just kind of that vision and just taking some time? I think that's another important, you want to work on the business stuff, but you also, I think it's neat if you can carve out some time just to give your mind some time just to think big, have vision, where do I want to see my business, and start to kind of think, beyond just, kind of the current, we need to do that. But, I'm saying just that, I mean, do you ever take any time to do that? Like that visioning, that's the word.
Absolutely. I think it's important. I think for me personally, for my journey, I definitely started small. And, for our listeners, I want to, and, make sure that that that's okay to, when you're starting a business, to start small, but to have bigger dreams. And when I say that, I mean, almost dreaming your biggest dream and then backtracking from there of what is doable in a short-term dream. And I've always had these big dreams, and for me right now, it's almost like taking time to reevaluate where you are in your business right at the moment and where you want to go, and backtracking from there and seeing how much closer you are to those dreams. But I've never in my whole career ever worked with a front desk person inside of any salon I've ever worked in. So I really truly don't have any experience of what that looks like, what that feels like, what it feels like financially, what does it mean, what are their responsibilities. So to have time to really pen and paper to figure out, what does this vision of this position look like for me? How can it benefit the salon? How can it benefit me? And then just working from there. I know we've had this conversation before about when is a good time to just be comfortable and when is a good time to be uncomfortable. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, you're never truly satisfied with the finish line. You're more satisfied running the race. So it's almost like, what's the next race I can get myself into? But yeah, having time. And again, I'm more talking about week to week, carving out time to work on your business. But I know we've talked about carving out different time to focus on your business, to create a budget, to create vision in your salon. So those are two different things.
J Faith Hair Studio, centrally located in southern New Jersey. J Faith Hair Studio is the place to go to become the best version of yourself. Confidence in your appearance is always important, and a great hairstyle is an absolute necessity. Visit jfaithhairstudio.com to book your appointment today.
Right, exactly. Good point. And I think that's what I was trying to get to is, there's that working on your business that can still in some ways be transactional nature, making sure you're reviewing things and looking, making sure, you're just on top of everything else that, in your business. And that can be done, by carving out time, right there where you're at. But then there's these other aspects of working on your business, like visioning and, thinking through things. And I would recommend that that our listeners who are thinking about that get away from your normal space to do that. And because if you're not careful, you're just going to allow the business to creep into that time. So, get away from the computer, even shut down your cell phone if you can, if your business will allow you to do that for some period of time, where you just have that uninterrupted time of being able to, pen and paper and just write things down, write those visions down. I mean, you brought up about the front desk person, even just taking time to think through, okay, what all can that role, what can I build in over time into that role, into that job description, and just start writing those things down. You might not start there, that might be, you might have 2 or 3 things on that list that you're going to start with. But I tell you, and I can tell you this from experience, that is one of the best moves a business person can make is, bringing someone into your business that, you need them in your business, but also that there's capacity there. And what I mean by that is that there's more there than what you can fit, there's more that this person can do that what you actually have vision for.
Right.
Because a lot of people say to, how did you build out this profit center in your business? How did you add those things? And the answer is clear. I had people that I brought in to maybe fill on a role, but they weren't at capacity. But we were training them, we were getting them, into our culture. Then here comes this opportunity, and I had a person ready to step into that.
Right.
And so, just things like that all came from taking time to work on the business. It wasn't a reaction to things. And I think I really believe, I mean, have you done that at all? When, like on your focus day, was that at the salon?
It was. And I had you in the back of my mind because even though you're communicating with your team, like, I'm not here, you don't see me, they still, can I ask you a question? You know, that you're still here, right? So there's definitely value in getting outside of your business on your focus day or when you're just working on your business. At the same time, I am glad that I was here because there's obviously a lot of material and things that I needed to do. But yeah, I heard your voice in my head during that day.
Good. You made my day. I like it when my kids hear my voice in their mind.
Or when someone's like, listen, I'm about to sound like dad, but you need to hear this. And you're like, oh my goodness, you sound like him.
That is something that between us siblings, we do say that. We're like, listen, I'm about to say something. It's going to sound a lot like dad, but I say this with love.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all of dad's words that come out of our mouths.
Seriously.
Good. I'm liking all that. Well, here's a thought. So, you know, maybe one of the things, and I know a lot of successful people approach it this way. So you have kind of that time to work on your business, and we'll just use, you know, the idea that you gave Jen to 20%. But maybe, you know, and you kind of do that maybe right in, you know, in your office or in the, you know, in the work area. But then maybe once a month or, you know, at least once a quarter, you'll really plan out a focus day where you're getting away. And that time is really about, you know, visioning and thinking about things and setting some, you know, maybe longer range goals, and really just taking and shutting everything down and just allowing yourself to, you know, to have that time. And another thing I would recommend people consider is then you can set up maybe some kind of folder or file, you know, that you keep so that as things cross your desk, you're like, wow, I'd really like to read this, but I'm so busy right now. So maybe, you know, you kind of take that and you put that in your quarterly focus day file, you know, where it might be, you know, business related, it might be something like that. But, you know, so maybe you'll have 3 or 4 or 5 things that now, you know, you've carved this time out. Now you can kind of read through there, highlight, you know, kind of the important points. But just having a file, you know, that you can say, okay, you know, this is going in my focus day file. You know, I'm going to cover this, read this, you know, think about this on that particular day. That I think is a very, you know, would be a very effective way to, you know, empower those days to, because by the time you get there, you're opening that file and say, boy, I got some stuff to do here. You know, this is good, you know, so that could be something else that would help people.
Well, you know, and it's funny that you say that because I just had one of my clients who she wrote a book over quarantine about the life of a busy mom. And she's like, you know, I would love for you to read this and give me some notes and feedback. And I'm like, I would love to, but I have to tell you, I don't have a lot of time. So I have maybe 30 minutes to an hour to do reading every day. So it might take me a little bit of time to get through this book, but I will read it. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I feel like sometimes we have the pressures of like, you know, at least I know I do. And Staci, we've talked about this before, like we should be, you know, doing all this reading and all this personal development and, you know, taking care of ourselves. And even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes out of the day and it takes us twice as long to get through a book, at least we're working through some of those things. So it doesn't have to be a whole lot of time allowed in your schedule. As long as you're moving through that and adjusting when you can, that's okay too. So I want to go into, as we're talking about the, you know, time to work on your business. When you are first opening a business, we don't technically get paid for all the extra things that we do as a business owner early on in your career, early on in your journey. I know obviously I did not. I put a ton of time and work in, and a lot of sacrifice into my business without making any money. So I think something that is encouraging too is as you move through your journey and your business grows, when you're taking 20% of your hours or 10% or whatever that looks like, you know, I know we're going to jump in and talk about budget in a minute. Now is the time, right? Now is the time to start saying, okay, I'm still working on my business and I should pay myself accordingly. So any advice on that, Dad, because it's something new to me. And when I was talking to my business coach, she's like, these Tuesdays that you're working on your business, you should be paying yourself for. And my brain exploded because I'm so used to not, right? Like there's so many things that we do as entrepreneur that we do because we love and we're passionate about, and it's long term. We're working on our business to hopefully make money long term to grow our business. So to be able to pay yourself at a certain point for all of the extra things that you do, carving that into your budget, figuring out what that looks like. Any advice on that, Dad?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you have to make a decision of, what that, that investment of time, what are you looking for it to do? I mean, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with what your business coach said, but there's another way to look at it. You can say, all right, well, I'm not going to pay myself because what I'm investing here is really some sweat equity,
Right.
some sweat, that, what I'm doing now will ultimately where my payback's going to be is I'm just going to have a much more valuable business. It's going to be worth more. It's going to allow me to have more time freedom in the future. So again, I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't pay yourself, but by the same token, that's the nice thing about being in your position. You can make that decision to say, I'm investing, for something longer term, so more of an equity investing more so than just, looking at pulling money out of the business. So I think either way, but I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at it, from the equity position.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
And we do that for such a long time before we know when we're first starting a business that we're not going to make a lot of money in the beginning, right? So when you are, you start having more money come into your business, like you said, Dad, what's the end goal? So do I want to build, my business financially in a certain way? Do I want to take more? Whatever that looks like for you. Like for me, everyone has to understand is I'm still commission inside of my business. So if I'm not actually working on a client, then I don't technically get paid. And I have done that for many, many, many years. So when do you start taking some of your profits and benefiting from all of the hard work? And I know we said this before in past episodes, being an entrepreneur is way too hard to not make money doing it. So yes, there's a level of sacrifice in the beginning of owning a business that you might not be making as much money, but when your time comes to pay yourself, to have a better lifestyle, again, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. So, I think in my position, I would love to open multiple locations. So instead of paying myself a bunch of profit, we have a vision and a plan of how much money, how much cash flow do we need to have to be able to go open a second location, a second business. So again, depending on what you're trying to do with your business, I'm here to tell you it's okay to take some profit and enjoy all of your hard work, because sometimes you feel guilty as a business owner of saying, no, let me just keep investing this, let me keep investing it. And, that's another way to get burnt out very easily, and to say, why am I doing all of this if I'm not going to enjoy some of this hard work that I've been putting into it?
Good point. And it is a fine line. I mean, we talked about this in an earlier episode. I think we talked about the sigmoid curve where, as you start, your business starts to grow, and, where a lot of business owners though make a mistake is because they went through that time of sacrifice and really kind of living lean, and now they're starting to make money. So now it's like, all right, well, my car's a bit beat, so I need a new car, and we start pulling money from the business for lifestyle decisions, and then next thing you know, it's like, wow, here's an opportunity to buy a second location. Oh my, I don't, I kind of creeped into some bills over here on the personal side that I don't have the money to do that now.
Right.
So, you really need to be locked into kind of what that goal is. And I get you, you have to be able to pull a little bit out or come up with creative ways to refresh yourself, maybe without taking a lot of, but I think, again, it's that big picture. And depending on the business like yours, I think the way that you ultimately probably hit the personal income levels that you're looking to hit is going to be, having a bigger operation through multiple locations would be, my guess, rather than, you continuing to do, pursue the way you're going now, which is good and important. Me, I can,
That's why I'm saying, listen to me. It's okay to take some profit for yourself. That's because me and Jack are going to battle it out on that one. But it is important. It, again, depending on your goals and what you're trying to do, it's very important. And, we're constantly investing back into our business. And that's what I hope that our listeners are getting, that it's okay to do the small things along the way. We're revamping our shampoo bowl area. I mean, it's okay. Instead of feeling like you have to just reinvent your whole company all at once, it's okay to take smaller steps, invest a little bit of money at a time, take a little bit of profit, enjoy all the hard work that you've done. I hope that that's coming through to our listeners.
We know it's interesting because I had a guy say to me one time, not too long ago, actually, it's like, well, I could keep doing this the way I'm doing now, and and then ultimately just leave my kids a bunch of money so they can go spend it and have fun. So maybe I should just spend some of it and have some fun too. Maybe I should be thinking about that. So don't try and talk me out of it.
That's a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible. No.
That's right.
You got way too many grandkids.
Right. It's not about the kids anymore, Jack. It's about the grandkids.
I know what they do motivate me. I'll be honest with you. They do motivate me. So no, that's good stuff. I mean, and that's real. What we're talking about is real. And I just really know that, I've talked with a lot of people in sales, insurance sales, and they just run, one, and they just never step back, and they always ask themselves, like, I'm doing okay, but I feel like I could do a lot better. And usually what it always points back to is they just, they don't slow up enough to step back and work on their business. They don't really dedicate that time. And so they're just constantly, running and doing things, thinking that somehow they're going to get there. And what they found is they've just basically plateaued. They've kind of hit the ceiling because they've never taken that time to reinvest or do the things necessary to take it to the next level. So now, what's a couple of the signs that you saw, Jen, that kind of opened your eyes? Okay, I'm spending too much, or I've lost sight of the fact I need to spend time working on my business. Was there a couple things that kind of jolted you into that realization?
Well, really just all my mentors in business have been telling me the same thing. So, when someone keeps telling you the same thing, it's time to start listening.
Yeah.
So, everyone was just like, you're working way too much doing the art of hair. And, you should, what you're doing should be this percent. And I kind of have just been blocking all of that out, because at the end of the day, I am still very much passionate about what I do inside my business, right? I don't want to pull away from doing hair. I personally feel like I'm doing the best hair I've done in my whole career. So, it's okay. I hear what everyone's saying. I definitely need more balance because I'm not getting everything done that I need to get done. So obviously there were a lot of different factors of I needed to raise my prices. I needed to carve out more time. And I tell everyone that asks, am working the hardest I've ever worked in my career, but in a different way. So I think when you first open a business, you're just really reckless with your time. Like, you're just all over the place. Like, I need to get all of these things done, even if it needs to happen at 1:00 in the morning. And, if you continue to work that way inside your business, it's the fastest way to get burnt out. And that's basically where I was at, during COVID. I was tired. I was burnt out. My feet are swollen every night. And listen, no one sees that, right? No one, I know I've told this to you before, Dad, like, what you don't see is that I'm in the salon at 8:30 in the morning and I'm not leaving till 9:30. Like, I promise you I'm the hardest working person, but I'm just reckless with my time. So things were falling through the cracks. Bills weren't getting paid. Again, my Comcast bill is out of control. Who's handling that stuff? And Comcast isn't open at 11:00 at night. So these things are just not happening because they weren't a priority to me. So, being burnt out is a huge factor of I'm unmotivated. I'm exhausted. When I am with my family, I'm tired. So it was
not very nice.
Not nice at all.
Nope.
So just feeling like, I think all entrepreneurs have gotten to that point in their career, one point and another. And what we have to realize is what worked the first year in business is not going to necessarily work in your second year of business and your third and your fourth. You have to constantly be adjusting and be open to change. And that's what really made me open my eyes to, I truly want to have it all. So I have to set myself up for success to have it all. And, we're obviously at a point in our business where we can now afford to delegate things. And that's a very hard thing for, new businesses, new entrepreneurs. You have no money. You have no money. You have to do everything. So I think just recognizing as you go through your journey of when you can adjust is a huge part. And how can we avoid burnout?
Well, that's good. Yeah, right. I mean, and you hit it right on the head. I think those are the signs, feeling burned out, you start to lose your motivation, for the business or what you're doing. And a big one is that you're starting to find mistakes, you're starting to find that, again, things that you were paying very close attention to are now starting to slip through the cracks, and those are the signs that you need to step back and kind of reevaluate and readjust, so I think that's good because, if you don't, next thing you know, and we're going to be covering this, in an upcoming episode of, decision making. You're making bad decisions. You're making, you're not thinking things through, so good. That's
and you're just not your happiest version. Like when you're an entrepreneur and you have a team of people, there's a lot of people counting on you. And I think that pressure can become a lot. So again, we sacrifice so much of ourselves early on in business that there has to be a turning point where you have to take your time back and say, listen, this is a non-negotiable for me to be the best version of myself. So I have to spend time with my personal development. I have to work out. I have to have my mornings to clear my head. Whatever that looks like for you, you have to get to a point where, if you're not the best version of yourself, everything else is not going to be good. Your business, your family, your children, and it's a very hard balance to get to. Believe me, I've walked the journey through all of this. So I know we want to talk about budgeting, Dad. So let's talk about that, because money is important in business. And I want to talk to new business owners. When you first open a business, the biggest accomplishment is just to have money in your bank and to pay your bills, right? I know for me it was. I'm like, we're paying all our bills. There's a little bit of money left over. We're putting some in savings. Like, we are doing so good. But like everything, as our business grows, things need to change.
Yeah, and I think that, the biggest thing with budgeting, because can be, I deal with people with money, and it's probably the hardest thing for people to do is to live on a budget, personally and in business. If they don't take the time to establish a budget, they don't pay attention to their budget. They're looking at money. Hey, I've got this much in my account, so I've got some money to spend, not realizing there's bills that's still coming due, that they didn't account for. So I would say that, the biggest thing with the budgeting piece is just to set a budget, business or personal, and then really monitor it. Monitor it, closely. And in today's world, it is a bit easier. With QuickBooks and all the different programs out there, you can. So that's what I would suggest is that get yourself set up right from the beginning with a program. A lot of these programs are relatively easy to work, but just stay on top of it, and use those programs, because, when you're keeping a budget, it tells a big story too. It really does tell a story about, where your business is going, what maybe some adjustments, evaluations you need to make. So, because I know you had talked about your situation, Jen, but we've talked about it. I think you've done a great job over the past 5 years, managing the finances of your business. I think you were beating yourself up a little bit, feel like you weren't working with a real good budget, but you really did a great job, staying on top of that.
Yeah, but I think that, again, you're always looking for improvements and to control the things that you feel like you have control with. So when you start to circle back and say, well, wait a minute, when did this bill get out of control? And why am I doing this? If I was logging a budget month in and month out, then maybe that wouldn't have fallen through the cracks. So there's always room for improvement. And even more detailed before, right? Like, just starting a budget, it's like your basic rent, utilities, X, Y, and Z. And now my budget is getting more detailed.
Right.
So we can really break up and see where the money is going, and then have goals of, where we would like to see the budget be at. So I was never excited about it, and now I'm excited about it. So people can change.
Hey, I'm starting to rub off on you, finally. No, budget's critical, and we work a pretty significant budget, in our business. Look at it quarterly. Matter of fact, we've got our meeting coming up here in a few days. So it's critical that you have those budget categories. You're monitoring them. You set budgets from the beginning, making sure. And I tell you, another important thing to do is then, do your look back. Say, all right, here was our budget for the, second quarter of 2021. How does that compare to the second quarter of 2020?
Right.
Or, you kind of have those look backs, and, all those things, paying attention to that really does tell a story. So for those out there that are thinking, boy, I like everything about entrepreneurship except budgeting. Well, get into the programs, see if you like working these programs and, but there are some outsourcing. I mean, there's businesses out there that will help you with that. And it's well worth the investment. Flying by the seat of your pants with those things, it will absolutely, it'll come back to haunt you. So
yeah, and make sure you could work with your accountant on your budget. I think that's a new piece that I'm adding into my business, making sure, my accountant is on the same page and listing them even more detailed. So, communicating to the people that help you with your business too, of this is what I need and this is the way I need it done to make sure that it's successful. So we need to know where our money is going. That's for sure.
It's a big part of working on your business.
Great conversation today. And I think that it's really given our listeners an opportunity to take a real good picture of what working on your business looks like versus working in your business. So thank you, Jennifer. And thank you, Jack, for sharing in your experiences and insight. And so we want to thank our listeners for tuning in today. Remember, you can send us any questions that you might have for us at our email address, which is 2daughters, that's TWO, 2daughters and their dad at gmail.com. We also want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank our listeners. And until we can all be together again, everyone be safe, be kind to each other, and be kind to yourself. Bye-bye. We want to thank you for listening today. Please subscribe so you never miss an episode. Leave us a positive review. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors, Dempsey Weiss & Associates and J Faith Hair Studio.